Hello everyone, I'm long overdue a Wargaming update for you. The trouble has been that I have been doing a lot of painting, but spread too sort of thinly really over too many projects, so doing a lot of work and nothing really coming out the other end in the way of things to show you. I've just done a quick count of the number of projects I've got on the go at the moment. It's 13. So you can imagine, combined with my really slow painting speeds, it takes a long time for anything to be finished. But I've got these two model triremes to show you. So you may recall I got interested in a set of rules called Thassa, which were originally free, one of the free supplements you can get from Wargames Illustrated. That edition, I think it was January 2023, is now out of stock, so if you want a copy of the rules you have to pay them now. It's not a big problem. I think it was £4 or £5. Yeah, I really got into it. Number of things have slowed the project down though. The most notable being that I placed an order with NG Castings, who produce the models, and they sell you a kind of starter bundle that includes all the templates and tokens from Sarissa. So you can either buy the same bundle from Sarissa or from NG Castings. I chose NG Castings, and unfortunately placed the order way back at the beginning of April. I think it was April the 7th. It was a long time before I heard anything at all. It did say on their website to give them a little bit of time because they cast to order, but eventually I got a reply to one of my messages saying that he had a lot of difficulty with the moulds and the masters, and basically had damaged them and had to go back to square one and remold and remaster everything. Well, I think it was the trireme hulls that were the biggest problem. So by way of apology, he said he was going to send not only my order but a few additional pieces and so on, which I was very grateful for. It didn't worry me that I had to wait so long, because these models I had found some STL files on my mini factory, and so I've been able to print my own models and make a start on painting them, which is these two you see in front of you here. But it did kind of slow me down because I didn't have the all the the other requisites for the game, like the templates, tokens, etc. And he sent the models on when he eventually got them cast and everything, and they arrived after the late May bank holiday, so a good month and a quarter that took to arrive. Month and three quarters rather. But again, he didn't include everything that came from Sarissa, because he said he had run out of those. So I'm still waiting. We're now, I think today is June the 6th. Still haven't received all the templates. So I can't, even if I wanted to, I couldn't get on with with playing a game. Just have to continue painting the models. In terms of the models though, let me just zoom in a little bit and see if I can give you a better view of the models. Very pleased with these in a lot of respects. My one kind of reservation about them though is that they are not really very accurate historical kind of representations of a Greek trireme. I mean, the biggest discrepancy really is the decks themselves. The Greek triremes had a sort of gangway or a partition, so that it opened the rowing decks up to the open air, as it were. So the deck only ran down the two sides of the vessel, and that helped to protect the heads of the rowers from missile fire and so on. But the game of Thassa requires you to mark the ships with tokens, really, to describe what the ship is armed with and so on. So I've got these just deck pieces in there at the moment, but they could come out and be replaced with crew, siege weapon type things, ballistas, catapult type weaponry. Again, you're verging on the unhistorical with some of the weapons that you can arm them with. And some of the other models of triremes go even further than that. I think it's reasonable that things that they represent on the vessels might have appeared during the Roman era, very decorative stern pieces and so on, and towers and little miniature buildings, all that kind of thing. But I really don't know much about it, but I really get the impression that they didn't go in for that a great deal in the Greek age. So the game is sort of bordering on a fantasy game, but nevertheless it looks like it's going to be fun. Another thing as well is that if you buy the models pre-cast and so on from NG Castings or Sarissa, you're going to get sails that have been open sails, so it looks as though the galleys are using wind power, but that wouldn't have been the case in battle. So the best you can do really is I printed up the models with raised sails, because they relied on all power during battles. In fact, it's more likely they would have taken the mast and rigging down completely. But yeah, I'm sounding negative about it, but I really like these models. So I'm going to enjoy playing a game when I eventually can. And that really is all I can show you in the way of my progress with Thassa at the moment. So more on that to come in future months. There is going to be a bit of a trireme theme to this whole video though, because some of the purchases and so on that books and so on that I've been acquiring in the meantime. Again, you may have noticed that I've been playing a game, a Peter Turkin game that I found on Steam called Trireme Commander. In some respects, I'll be putting up some gameplay of that for you to look at while I'm talking about it. But in that respect, very annoying game in some ways, that there is a glitch on it, a bug that you have to use a sort of what's the word? It's like a patch. It's a suggested bit of coding that you can type in that gets you past an obstacle right at the beginning of the game, because you have to get through each scenario before you can play any of the battles proper. And the game keeps giving you a failure message even if you succeed in that particular scenario. So you have to get past that, which was difficult to accomplish. And then I've got all the way to the Battle of Salamis now, and it just seems to be impossible to win any of the scenarios proper, because you will either find that the victory conditions are hard to achieve, or you'll find that your own ship is damaged to the point where you're knocked out of the game and you lose the game that way, even though you might be commanding the winning side. If you lose your own vessel, you lose the game, which is a bit harsh. But worse than that, the bigger scenarios that involve a lot of ships and a lot of processing, computer processing, often drop out, often sort of crash. So you never get to finish the scenario because the game just, drops out and you're back looking at your laptop's home screen. So that's been a bit frustrating as well. So all in all, I'm not really getting very far into my Trireme project, as it were. Anyway, I have got one other thing painted up, so I'll show you that next. Okay, so this is the only other thing I've managed to paint to completion. That is, I've been painting like mad. It's 5 buildings that I bought loads of years ago. I can't even remember what it was. I got them at Salute. There's a company called Little Green Man who have disappeared so completely that I can't find any record of them on the internet whatsoever nowadays. And originally I got them thinking they might do for a sort of pirate town in the Caribbean. They've got a sort of Mediterranean style to them, so it could be a sort of Spanish colonial look in some respects. I didn't want to paint them up with white walls, so I gave them a kind of grubby, overdone it a little bit, as you can see here. I'm not very happy with all this. Gave them a sort of grubby coloured look, and in the end they reminded me a little bit of somewhere like Venice, the sort of back streets of Venice or something like that. But anyway, having got them painted, I really don't know what I'm going to use them for. I've got sort of vague ideas about a skirmish game like On Guard, set somewhere, but at least they are out of my pile of sort of unpainted models and figures, and they hopefully will come in useful one day or another. Yeah, and again, that's really all I can say about them, so nothing terribly inspiring to show you. Other things that have been going on, made lots of purchases, as you can imagine, and I'll show you all those to you in a minute. Wargaming wise, my only excursion in the last couple of months has been to Legionary, which is the Exeter Wargames show, run by the Exmouth Imperials. I think they call themselves Wargames Club rather than an Exeter Wargaming Club. It's held on the outskirts of Exeter, and it's a really good show to go to. It's probably the best kind of one in this sort of far southwest, really. So I do look forward to it each year. Last year couldn't get there because I was intending to go, but there was a rail strike on the day of the show. This year it was on May the 11th on Saturday, and the trains were running fine. And even better, there's a new train station that's been opened up at a tiny little place called Marsh Barton, which is about a 15-minute walk from the Matford Centre where the show is held. So that was quite convenient. In the past, I would have had to have got the train to Exeter St Davies, which is the main train station in the centre of Exeter, and then walked through the town to pick up a bus that takes you out to a park and ride, which is close by the Matford Centre. So this is a slightly shorter walking distance involved, but the trains to Marsh Barton are only about every half hour, I think. So there is a bit of a delay in waiting for connections and things. And Marsh Barton itself is just in the middle of a sort of typical sort of retail outlet stroke light industrial area. So it's just car showrooms and all kinds of, warehouses and things like that. So it's a little bit of a bleak area. There's even, as you get off the train, you're right beside a recycling and processing, type of unit that burns rubbish and regenerates electricity from it and all that kind of thing. So not particularly inspiring place to walk through. And it was a really hot day. My feet were, or my right foot, which is the one that's playing me up, was really painful. So I was quite weary, and maybe that had a knock-on effect to my mood, because I didn't really enjoy the show as much as I have done in the past. There were a few decent games there. The one that I remember the most favourably was a game using Nevermind the Boat Hooks, which is a sort of variant of Nevermind the Bill Hooks. So it was set during the very late 100 Years' War. In fact, I think the 100 Years' War had officially come to a conclusion by the time the scenario had been set, but it was basically a French raid on the Cornish town of Foy, and the fighting was all on board ships, with the sort of British or the English fleet trying to stop the French from getting away with all the loot and pillage that they had taken from Foy. And it was a historical occurrence, so it was very clever. They even managed to get me rolling a few dice for a couple of minutes, but my usual dice rolling soon persuaded them that they needed to get someone else to join in. A couple of good. Again, I would have been putting up some footage of it to show you, but I was very kind of I don't know, just a little bit jaded, I suppose, on the day. It depresses me how many people from Plymouth wargame and will go to that show, but don't support the local wargaming club, which I don't either now. It seems to be a sort of zombie club that will never die, because it's just got too many resources and funds, to run out of life. But it just seems to have no spark any longer. There's only about, you'll get about 7 or 8 people attending each week, apparently, from what I hear. And most of the games are sort of ones that I'm not interested in, or they're even not even with figures, board games and that kind of thing. So it's died, but it's not. It's dead, but not buried, as it were. But yeah, so in terms of purchases, as I say, made a lot of purchases. So I'll start with the purchases I made at Legionary. So the best, from my point of view, the most interesting trader at Legionary this year, I didn't actually buy anything from, and that was because it was Athena Miniatures, who I discovered when they attended POR back in February, and I purchased so many figures from them back then that, you know, it seemed pointless buying more when I've just got so many to paint. So you know, again, a big shout out to Athena. It's really nice to see them at these local shows, and definitely take a look at their website and look at the ranges they do, but didn't get anything from them. So I was struggling to find anything to spend my money on. Back to the Trireme theme, I decided to get some bits of scenery for Thassa, so I bought these sort of resin islands and rock pieces from War Paint Figures, who again, I'm not exactly sure, I've got their website up here at the moment, but I'm not exactly sure where they're based, but they certainly attend a lot of the southwest region shows. So they were at Poor, they were at Legionary, they're going to be at Devises, which I think is at the end of June. So they cover the sort of southwest region I think they might be in South Wales actually, yeah, because he was certainly, when I was speaking to him at Poor, he was certainly talking about Penarth and the bolt action tournament they had there and so on. So yeah, so these are going to come in very handy as bits of scenery for the game of Thassa. Other than that, the only thing I bought was on the bring and buy, which was a single Osprey. I did a video recently just on the number of Osprey books I seem to be accumulating, so if I see any, you know, going cheap, I will pick them up at bring and buys or you know, charity shops, that kind of thing. And typical, there were two there as part of the British Army on Campaign series. So I think there was number 2, which covered the Crimean War, and number 3, which is from just after the Crimean War up to 1881. There were 4 in the series. I was looking at them and thinking I must have the Crimean War one, so I didn't buy that. And in fact, there was another guy stood right next to me who was obviously interested in it as well, so he had that in his hand, so I thought, oh, I'll just leave it. And luckily, when I got home, I discovered that I did have it already, so it would have been a duplication. But I picked this one up, and again, lo and behold, when I got home, I discovered I've got it already. So apologies to that guy if he does ever watch this video, but I could have let him have this one as well, because I've now got a duplicate of it. Okay, so that is all the total of everything I bought at Legionary. I forgot to say as well that another fantastic, absolutely fantastic aspect of Legionary is their catering, because it's set in a kind of livestock centre where farmers go to trade cattle and negotiate, and they have a massive cafeteria and canteen area that does the best breakfast you can imagine, you know, sort of full on English breakfast. Really great. I look forward to that every time I go. In fact, it's one of the first places I attend, you know, I visit when I get into the show, is to sit down and have a really glorious breakfast. And it really has to be the best catering facilities of any wargaming show in the country, you know, because it's comfortable, plentiful, inexpensive, so you're not being ripped off by, you know, all these sort of franchises that have, you know, pitched their tent in various locations. Excel, I'm talking about you in the main, and salute. Yeah, so really great breakfast at Legionary. But anyway, that's getting me off the subject of wargaming. So on to some other purchases that I've made. Okay, on Amazon I purchased 2 Osprey books to help me with ideas for how to paint triremes and so on. So I got this one first of all. This is in their, what do they call these? The Duel series. So Athenian trireme versus Persian trireme. Yeah, I'm not going to say very much about it at all, other than there's an example there about the real look of a trireme during a battle in the ancient Greek period. You have this division down the middle of the deck, and not a spar or a mast in sight. So everything just, you know, being driven under oar power. So that's a proper, you know, sort of appearance, and the models don't look anything like that. So yeah, so, and the other one, forget what it was called, but it's been about a month, and there's a notification that it's been dispatched, but no sign of it. It's long past the date when it was due to be delivered. So I'm having an awful lot of trouble with things recently. Some other things that I won't talk about that haven't arrived yet, but had placed the orders ages ago, and you know, sometimes you'll get an order virtually the next day from someone. I'll give you an example of that in a minute. And sometimes they, you know, they just seem to drag their feet for an unnecessarily long time. So I have got another Osprey en route to do with trireme warfare, but no idea when it will appear. In my favourite charity shop, I picked up a couple of books, you know, on subjects that I'm into, but not relevant to anything I'm painting at the moment. So there was this one, nice sort of pristine copy of a book called Like Wolves on the Fold, The Defence of Rorke's Drift by Lieutenant Colonel Mike Snook, which I've heard good things about. I can't remember how much I paid for it. It wasn't very much at all. I've taken the label off now. I think it's about £4, so it's worth adding to my library. And the other one, they had an awful lot of books on the Middle Ages and the medieval period, medieval warfare in particular. And this one caught my attention, the Battle of Poitiers 1356, because I do war game that period. But you know, the thing that made it stand out from all the other books they had was that there's an appendix in here somewhere. The earth has it got to? Yeah, here we go. The appendix on the subject of wargaming, the Battle of Poitiers, written with Martin Tweedy Smith. So I thought, you know, that tipped the balance really in me deciding to pick it up. Right, and then I've got some figures that I purchased, and this is an example of a very speedy and efficient delivery. So I bought some figures from Peter Pig. Now I'm going to do a separate video on this subject soon, because my appetite for AK-47 Republic has recently been revived and refreshed. A couple of reasons why that happened. I'll leave that for the next video. But I was watching a guy called Sean. I forget his surname now. He's well known in the sort of Peter Pig enthusiast community. He's one of those playtesters for the Rules for the Common Man group. He's been absent from YouTube for about a year now, but he's recently retired and started to put videos up again, which are very welcome. He puts up battle reports for AK-47 Republic, and is often kind enough to mention me in some of his videos and talk about the videos that I put up in the past. But he had a video showing what Peter Pig are doing is that they're withdrawing some of their figures, notably the character figures for AK-47 Republic. So you have various factions, and each faction has a leader. So there'll be a religious leader, a mercenary leader, etc., etc. And the packs used to contain one standing figure and one seated figure, one dead figure, and a bodyguard. And the rules now have been through various iterations. I'm still a massive fan of the original classic AK-47 Republic, but there was an AK-47 Reloaded, came out quite a long time ago now. Still haven't got around to playing it, and I mean, frankly, the more time goes on and the more things happen, the less inclined I am to play it. It doesn't seem like a very so there's major changes in it from the classic. So, you know, it was probably, it needed doing, probably because the old one had gone out of print and so on. So they did need to produce a new edition. They might as well tweak the rules and refine it to a certain extent. So I've got no problem with that. It's just that having got a copy of the original rules, I don't see any point, in changing something that I'm more than happy with, and just sort of delighted with anyway. But now they're going to bring out a third edition of the rules, and they're going to convert the game to their grid-based group of rules, and that I'm not so keen on at all. I do like Peter Pig rules. I like AK-47 Republic, the original, the most. After that, I probably would say Hammer in Iron, the hex-based American Civil War Riverine rules. I've got other games like Square Bashing, but I'm just not into those gridded rules as much, and especially for a game like AK-47 Republic, which has already got, a perfectly functioning and good set of rules, to play. I don't really see the need. I'll probably buy them just for the sake of completion and having them in my collection, but I doubt, as I haven't got around to playing AK-47 Reloaded yet, I doubt very much that I will ever play this new set of rules when it comes out. But anyway, they are withdrawing their leader packs and bringing out these new leader packs with new figures and new sculpts and so on. And it's probably to do with that revision to the rules. I don't know for sure. So now you get 3 figures in a pack, one leader who is standing, and they're very nice sculpts indeed. But the bodyguard, you get 2 versions of the bodyguard. So if you're going to have them all on the same base, it's going to look very odd. So what you're going to have to do is swap one of those figures out, maybe swap them around and so on. I don't know. So it seems, I don't know, it seems the figures are probably as good, if not better, than the originals, but it still seems a little bit of a kind of retrograde step. But anyway, I thought it would be worth getting them because, I've got loads of unpainted figures still, so I can use, some of those in with these, and it's not a big problem. While I was on the website, I purchased their arms dealer, which is one of the packs that it looks like they're going to be pulling. So I thought I would get it while it was still available. So you get 2 arms dealers in there that are both the same pose, and looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 figures carrying various ammunition crates around and so on. So that'll make an interesting group when I go around to painting it. And I bought 3 more Toyota pickups to turn into technicals, only because, as I say, I've still got a lot of unpainted figures in my collection, and some of them are HMGs and so on that you can put on the back of Toyotas to turn them into technicals, so I needed some more vehicles for that. And if I didn't say already, these figures I think came the day after I placed an order for them, or the day after that, but certainly, you know, hardly had time to draw breath before they were on my doormat. So very speedy and efficient delivery of those. Just thinking now, I have started, you know, one of those 13 projects I was talking about at the beginning of the video is a new project that I am very excited about, and I'm not going to, I have made some purchases for that, but I'm not going to show you those. I'm going to present those to you as a sort of fait accompli when I've got them painted up and so on, and talk about that game and those rules more when I can actually put a game on for you, rather than like with Thassa, where I've sort of, you know, already you know, given you a sort of spoilers of what I'm doing without being able to show you a game. But with this game, it's here, it's complete. All I've got to do is paint the models. I've got all the tokens and cards and everything I need to play it. So I just need to knuckle down and get the things painted up, and then I'm going to put that on. So I'm not going to even talk about that in this video. I'm already painting some things up for AK-47, so hopefully should have those ready to show you in about a fortnight's time, and then I'm going to give a little bit of a talk about my enthusiasm for AK-47, and after that hopefully put on another demo game of it. And apart from that, I think that is everything. Just looking around to see if there's anything in my piles and piles of things that I've got collecting dust. I don't think there's anything else I need to show you at this moment. No, yep, that's everything. So thank you very much for watching, and see you on the next video. Bye for now.